I'm very pleased to be joined today by Lisa Sullivan, who was recently appointed at our AGM as our new deputy editor at the Journal of CME. So, Lisa, first off, welcome aboard. We're delighted to have you as deputy editor. Tell us a little about yourself. What's your story?
Well, I have to say, Robin, I'm similarly thrilled to be a part of the team and taking on this role. I've actually been in the CME CPD space for mm, 40 years, really. And most of that time, I've been an accredited provider to one of the GP colleges in Australia. So, really very experienced in the CPD space and really enjoying looking into the future of what our environment is really going to be. I think the fact that I've been in this space for so long is really one of the reasons why I chose last year to start my PhD journey. And I'm looking at GP engagement in CPD. What are their motivations? What do they like? What are the barriers and facilitators and so on? So in essence, I'm continuing my sort of story in the CPD space. And when the opportunity came up to take on this role, it just seemed like the natural thing for me to do as an extension to what I've been doing for an extraordinarily long time. So, yeah, really looking forward to it.
Well, I for one, am very glad that you have taken this appointment because since then I've had more time to get involved in innovations and developments, which previously I found it difficult to squeeze in. Um, so you've been on the journal's board for the last few years. What actually prompted you to say yes to becoming deputy editor?
Well, I honestly think it's because it gives me an opportunity to shape the conversations in the CME CPD space. I think our environment is evolving so incredibly quickly, and obviously that's very exciting. But I've loved being on the board, and I love reviewing others' papers, and of course, part of my PhD, that's what I'm doing pretty much every day. And it just seemed like a natural extension. So, taking on this editorial role was to me the next step. So, good for me, really. Good for my career opportunities, I think.
Okay. So, are there any big picture goals or things that you'd like to bring, that you're hoping to bring to the table?
Well, I think there's an opportunity for us to look at a bit more interactive content. Maybe we look at some webinars on publishing in CME and CPD, um, perhaps even some short summaries of some of the papers that are submitted to us that we accept. I think what I've seen over the last few years at the European CME Forum is that and particularly from the poster presentations, that there's really a need for an increase in opportunities for those who are taking the time to put their research together to have opportunities to present. Because I think at the end of the day, it makes everything that we do more accessible and engaging. And so, when you think about how much work goes into actually researching or creating interventions, I mean, I just think it would be terrific if we gave those authors an opportunity for more different formats in which to present their work. So that's what I'm hoping to see in the future.
Well, that's it's really interesting. I mean, from your perspective, how does the journal help to move CME CPD forward?
Well, it's obviously a hub for evidence-based practice and innovation. And as you know, there are very few journals in the CME CPD space like ours. And so I think we have a real opportunity to shape how healthcare professionals learn and apply their knowledge. And for me, I'm incredibly proud to be part of that journey. So I think that's our major task in taking our industry forward. And I think also that we do need to do a bit more advertising for ourselves because there are so few journals in our space, our journal needs to be better known. There are a lot of academics out there that don't even know we exist. So there's more work that we need to do in that area. So you've been with the journal since inception. I mean, what do you think makes our journal different compared to others?
Well, you've just said that there are very few journals dedicated to CME CPD. In fact, there are only really two, JECME and JSET. And given the importance of CME, this is quite astonishing, since the literary world is awash with journals devoted to undergraduate education. I think this is the unfortunate legacy of the old-fashioned idea that medical education stops when doctors are considered to be fully trained. This has meant that CME has struggled to be accepted as an academic discipline.
Mm.
So, what trends in CME CPD are catching your eye right now? Anything you're excited to explore?
Yeah, well, I have to say, I think the thing that really is exciting me is the whole concept of the micro learning sort of new wave. And I think we know that micro learning fits very nicely in disease focused education, but where we are not seeing it yet is its role in quality improvement or performance improvement, CME, CPD. And I'd really like to see, is that possible? And if it is, how? What do we need to do to make micro learning cohesive and valuable within that QI and PI space? Um, and I think also the other thing that really fascinates and interests me is competency-based education, because it's been happening in undergraduate and postgraduate for many years in most of the Western world, definitely. And it's not done in CME almost at all. It's just starting to surface in our space. And so, I think that there's an opportunity for us to really look critically at competencies to see whether we can change the role from into performance and outcomes rather than just counting hours. So they're the two sort of primary things that I'm really interested in. I mean, obviously, there are lots of challenges in the CME CPD space. Have you got any suggestions on how our journal can actually address those?
Well, I think that the discovery that AI and online clinical databases and easily accessible videos is able to deliver comprehensive CME represents a rather existential challenge to contemporary CME providers. As we will say in our coming session at the Alliance in Atlanta in February, keeping up to date is the easy bit.
Yeah.
In the future, the main challenge in CME will be addressing barriers between competence and performance. And I just hope that JECME will play a leading role in meeting this challenge.
Mhm.
Do you have any ideas or initiatives you'd like us to try?
Well, I've certainly enjoyed the special collections over the last few years, and there's no doubt that we need to continue those. And I think, as we agreed at the recent annual board meeting, we're looking at some interesting changes to how that's going to be managed. So it's important that people sort of watch this space for us. But I also think that there seems to be, and I may be wrong, but it appears to me that most of the major events are looking much more at the global environment for CME CPD. And so I do wonder whether that might be an interesting topic for us to consider for future issues. And also, I'd really like to see us look at more collaboration with other journals and organizations, just so that we can be sure that something like this can help us improve the noise in the CME CPD community. So that sort of collaboration, I think, is important, and we could and probably should be doing more of that. So looking ahead from your perspective, I mean, what do you think that we should be doing or the journal should be doing in the next couple of years? I mean, I'm looking at world domination, but maybe that's me being a bit over the top. So, what do you think?
Well, I'm not quite so ambitious. However, today's healthcare is more and more demanding and stressful, with aging populations and ever increasing treatment options, financial constraints, and burnout. And JECME should play an important role, I believe, in maintaining and improving clinician behavior and performance in these difficult times. For example, the emphasis of needs assessment should move from disease-specific practice gaps to behavior gaps related to work environment. Anyway, before we wrap up, what do you think is your key message to our readership as you step into this role?
Well, I'd say get involved, share your ideas, submit your work. Whether it's research or intervention based, we want to hear what our community is doing. And ours is one of, as you've said, only two journals in which they can present their opportunities to have the world know what they're doing. I think, what we really want to do is make this journal a reflection of our CME CPD community. And we can't do that if people don't actually submit their work to us. I think some of the other important things, obviously, also is we need to make sure that our listeners and so on are signed up to our databases, keep an eye on the jecme.org website and also our LinkedIn space, because we've really got some interesting things coming up ahead. So they need to keep on top of it all. So, in final, I mean, have you got any sort of tips, Robin? How people can get involved with the journal, whether they are authors or reviewers, and what do you suggest?
Well, I would say just keep in touch. If you are considering writing a paper, and perhaps you haven't written very many papers before, please contact us and discuss it with us first. And even if you're not in a position to be an author, we're also very keen to expand our number of expert reviewers. If you have experience of CME CPD, especially with an interesting skill set, perhaps in study design, statistics, or specialist clinical knowledge, become one of our reviewers. We receive papers on a wide range of topics, often requiring reviewers with specific expertise.
Yeah, sounds great. We certainly do need more reviewers, so terrific. Well, thank you, Robin. It's really been great chatting with you today, and I'm looking forward to working with you as we move forward.
Well, Lisa, thank you very much. And I too look forward to working with you.